in this problem right here, 3a, I could have given you 3a or 3b without ever teaching this lesson. I could have given it to you in lesson 1.3 because you learned something in lesson 1.3 about angles that should help you solve this problem. Raise your hand if you see or think you know how to set up. I'm not asking to do it as a proof. I'm just asking, hey, what am I going to do with these angles? Nobody. There's got to be somebody else.
What was the question?
Catherine.
You could do, find IQU, you could do 90 minus x over 5 plus 25 equals 2x minus 1.
I could do that. I could do subtraction. Yes, that is a relationship. And if I had numbers, I would totally do that. But because I have variables, I prefer to avoid subtraction if I can. So there is something, I know you know it, but let's see. What do you think, Caitlin?
2x minus 1r.
Oh, no.
I mean, 1, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm talking to myself.
1 plus x divided by 5 plus 25 equals 90.
Equals 90. Yeah, and we're going to have to switch the mode because this is not going to work for us today. So, no, you're good. So, yes, we're going to add them up to add up to the bigger angle. Angle addition postulate is what we're using. All right, here we go. We are back. So here's what they said. Here's what she said. Add these two angles. Angle addition postulate says if the two smaller angles are adjacent, then they'll add up to the larger angle. So we have 2x minus 1 plus x over 5 plus 25 equals 90. Guys, please don't talk right now. All right, I normally would just combine like terms, but I have this denominator 5. I don't like that, so I'm going to distribute 5 to every term or multiply both sides of the equation by 5. 90 times 5 is 360 plus 90, which is 450. This is going to be 10x minus 5. This is going to be plus x. 25 by 5 is 125. Now you can do this in the margin over here if you need to. I'm going to do it underneath so you can see it written out larger. I'm going to combine like terms. This is going to give me 11x plus 120 equals 450. And subtract the 120 from both sides. So you get 11x equals 330. When you divide by 11, x equals 30. We're going to take that answer, and they asked us to find the measure of angle IQU. IQU is this one down here. It looks smaller in the picture. 2 times 30, 60 minus 1 is 59 degrees. 30 over 5, which is 6, plus 25 is 31 degrees. So the picture is deceiving. It's not drawn to scale. If it were drawn to scale, the two expressions should actually be reversed. But they do add to 90. Try letter B. You should see something, a type of angle that you're familiar with in that picture. By the way, what could I call this angle and this angle? They form a what? Straight line. They are going to be supplementary, but they form a straight angle. So it's they are called, there's two of them, they are called a linear pair. A linear pair. If it's two adjacent angles that form a straight angle, it's a linear pair. So take a second to try that one. Who can give me an equation for letter B? I have 3 people who can. Really, 3 people? Yes.
I said 2y plus 17
Yep.
plus 5y plus 9 equals 180.
Correct. The two angles are going to add up. The two pieces of the larger straight angle are going to add up to the straight angle, which is 180. So this simplifies to 7y plus 26 equals 180. You subtract 26. What do we get for a final answer for y if we solve correctly? Yes. 22. That's all we were asked to find, so we're done. If I want to check my answer, I can still plug it in to make sure that the angles actually do add to 180. 2 times 22 plus 17 is 61 degrees. 5 times 22 plus 9 is 119. And 119 plus 61 is 180, so we know we set that up correct, or we have the right answer for y anyhow. All right, here is where people get a little bogged down sometimes. I have a couple different ways of showing this. My first way for people who are really strong in algebra and strong in converting expressions into algebraic expressions is to teach it the way that it's traditionally taught. But there is an alternate way. It's a little confusing. It actually flips the complement and the angle. So in the end, you have to be careful that you don't mix up what the final answer is, correct final answer. So we have this. What does it mean? If I'm going to teach it the traditional way, and if you're struggling to set it up, then we will, I can meet with you individually to show you an alternate way to do the problem. An angle measure, which we don't know, so we're going to call it x. So where it says an angle measure, we're going to call that x. What does is mean? Equals. 4 degrees less than. What does that mean? Am I doing 4 minus or something minus 4? Since it's less than, I'm going to take away 4 from something. I'm not sure what yet. Okay, I'm not going to do 4 minus. I'm going to do minus 4. It says 2 times its complement. And here's where people get confused. They know what 2 times mean. They struggle with its complement. Well, I'm not going to use y in this case, although it is possible if I set it up an alternate way. Complement, if I know an angle is 10 degrees, Mr. Ritter has a 10-degree angle. What's its complement? Why? Because they add to? 90. So how did I find the 80 if I already knew the 10? 90 minus 10. If I have an angle that's 20 degrees, how do I find its complement?
90 minus 20.
90 minus 20. So if I have an angle that's x degrees, how do I find its complement? 90 minus x. So where it says its complement, I need to use the expression 90 minus x. So when it says 2 times its complement, I have to do 2 times the quantity, 90 minus x. So my equation is x equals 2 times the quantity, 90 minus x, and then minus 4. Any questions on how to set it up? So now I'm going to distribute the 2. This gives me 180 minus 2x. Make sure you put those parentheses or you will miss that part. Minus 4 on the right-hand side. And so now I'm going to combine like terms. The 180 and the minus 4 give us 176. Add 2x to both sides. I get 3x equals 176. 176 divided by 3 is 58.6 repeated. What's 0.6 repeated? 2/3. 58 and 2/3 of a degree is the answer for x, the angle itself. But they asked me to find both angles, find the measure of the 2 angles. So I also have to find its complement. How do I find its complement? Plug it into what? Well, I actually know the number, right? So how do you find its complement? 90 minus this. So watch this. I'm going to multiply my angle by -1 and add 90 to it. That's the same as 90 minus my angle. I get 31.3 repeated. What's 0.3 repeated? 1/3. 31 and 1/3 degree. So the angle itself is 58 and 2/3 degrees. The complement is 31 and 1/3 degree. Questions on that? Try to set up letter D. See if you don't solve it right now. Just see if you can set up the equation for letter D. So here we have letter D. An angle's measure is 12 degrees more than half the measure of its supplement. What's the expression for its supplement? 180 minus x. So if you get that, then you have x equals half of its supplement plus 12, and its supplement is 180 minus x. This is the traditional way to set up the problem. There are other ways to do this problem. There's actually 2 other ways that I know of to do this. So if you're struggling, if you're like, I'm not going to remember to use that, then you need to see me to see the alternate way. So this is going to be 90 minus x over 2 plus 12 when I distribute the 1/2. So now I'm going to multiply everything times 2. 2x equals 180 minus x plus 24. I'm going to combine like terms. That's going to be 204, right? No. Yes. 180 plus 24. 204. And I'm going to add x to both sides. 3x equals 204. 204 divided by 3 gives me an answer of x being 68 degrees. So that is my original angle. Its supplement should be 180 minus 68, which is 112. Any questions on that? All right. We're going to take a look then, and I would like you to help us see how we're going to set these up. Who knows what type of angles HMJ and LMK are? Raise your hand if you know what type of angles they are. I have 1 person, 2 people in Geo Calc Path Honors. The next page, letter E. Right, did I skip something? I don't think so. No, okay, letter E. And I'm just trying to see what the relationship between the 2 is. Jake, what do you think? They are vertical angles. And what did I say is always true about vertical angles? They point to each other and they're always congruent, equal in measure. So I'm going to take this expression, knowing those angles are congruent, I'm going to take this expression and set them equal. Get my variable to one side. I now have x, and subtract 3 equals 24. But they didn't want x, they actually want the measure. I'm missing my highlighter. The measure of angle JMK. JMK is that angle, not one that I have an expression for. I'm going to plug this into the ones I do have an expression for and make sure they turn out the same. 2 times 24 plus 27 is 75 degrees. So this picture is also not to scale because that looks like an obtuse angle, or those are just in the wrong spot. 3 times 24 plus 3 is also 75 degrees. How am I going to find the highlighted angle if I know those? Macy.
Don't you subtract, is it 75?
Yep, this is 75. From 180, because I've got a linear pair here. So I could do 180 minus 75 to find the angle. So the measure of angle JMK is 105 degrees. There was a question over here. Yes?
Where did you get 24?
Where did I get 24? I subtracted 3 from both sides. 27 minus 3 is 24, and 3x minus 2. I didn't show the work for it. Subtracting 3 and subtracting 2x from both sides. 3's gone from this side, 2x is gone from this side. I have 24 and x. So be careful with that. I will tell you on the benchmark test and on future quizzes, you will have problems where we've already talked about the fact that one of your multiple choice answers might be 24, and that's not what they asked for. But you might even plug it back in and be like, oh, 105, and that's one of the other multiple choice answers. But that's not what they asked for. They asked for this angle. So you always go back and reread what were you supposed to solve for. All right, letter F. I'm trying to find angle Q. This is supposed to be RS. Because there are no variables in the picture, I can put a variable in there. If there were things involving x, I shouldn't do that. So what are those 3 going to do, Catherine?
Well, they're all
They're all, well, to be supplementary, it has to only be 2 of them.
Oh.
But you have the right idea. They're going to do what?
They're all going to equal 180.
They're all going to add up to 180. Add to 180 degrees. Supplementary is 2 angles that add to 180. In this case, we have 3 adjacent angles adding to 180. So because it's just numbers, you could do 180 minus 52 minus 47. And you get x is 81 degrees. And that is the measure of angle QRS, 81 degrees, because that's what we called x. Now, if I instead had asked you, if I had called this point W, I could ask for the measure of angle QRW. What would you have to do? Yeah.
You have to do 180 minus 52.
180 minus 52, yes. Or just, if you already know this, just add these two together when you've got it. Yep, either one would get you the right answer, which would be 128. Any questions on those? Okay, now for letter G, there are actually several equations you could write for letter G. Does anyone see any geometric relationships in the picture that they could do something with? I'm not asking for the equation, I'm just asking for any visual relationships you see in the picture. Yes, yeah.
There's two vertical angles.
I do have two sets of vertical angles, this one and this one, or this set, and then the top and bottom set. Unfortunately, I don't have an expression for this one, so I don't really want to use that. But there is a set of vertical angles, and vertical angles are always congruent. So you could have an equation, 3x plus y equals 5x minus 28. That is a possible equation. So I'm going to put that one in purple. We've got vertical angles, and they're congruent. There are at least two other equations. Some people came up with more. They were a little crazy, and I probably wouldn't use them, but they did work. They were true. Any other relationships between two angles in the picture? Look at two of them at a time. The same person knows. Okay, three people from the same table know.
Our whole table.
Your whole table knows. Okay, any other people know? Hold on one second. Max, just go. Yeah, just go.
4y plus 3x plus 5x minus 28 equals 180.
So you're saying this angle right here and this angle form a what?
Straight angle.
A straight angle. They are a linear pair. And since they're a linear pair, they're supplementary. They're going to add to 180. So this green linear pair, you gave me the equation 4y plus 3x plus 5x minus 28 equals 180. Good. That is one possible equation. There is at least one more. Caitlin.
3x plus y plus 4y plus 3x equals 158.
So you took these two angles and said, well, those two angles also form a straight angle. They're also a linear pair. And given that linear pair, I could have 3x plus y plus 4y plus 3x equals 180. Do I need all three of these equations to solve?
No.
How many do I need? Two. If I have one, I'm in trouble because I have two variables, and in a two-variable system, you have to be able to do elimination or substitution. If you prefer substitution, you'd probably want to use this equation because you could easily solve for y and then plug it into one of the other equations. If you prefer elimination, then you'd probably want these two equations because you have 180. By the way, even substitution might work for that. But anyhow, you have 180 on both sides. And so you can combine like terms over here and combine like terms here and then use elimination. Both of those are an option. So I'm not going to go through that right now because if you want to, you can solve them, and I'll look at your work to tell you if you've done it right. You can use any method, but we've covered both of those skills pretty thoroughly. You will have some like that possibly on your BA or quiz and probably in the homework. I would like you to real quickly answer what the problems we skipped on the try it, number 1 and number 6. Numbers 1 and 6. Give those a try real quick if you hadn't already tried those. All right, let's go over this real quick. Number 1, the angle is x. What's the measure of its complement? You're not going to have a number answered. You don't know the number for the complement for the angle. You're going to have a variable expression. So what do you do with it? You take it away from 90. 90 minus x is your complement. Just like when we're setting up the story problems. What is the measure of its supplement? That one is going to be 180 minus x. because the angle's x. If the angle were 10 degrees, that's how you'd get it. 90 minus 10 is 80. 180 minus 10 is 170. So just because it's a variable, I'm not going to get a numerical answer for that unless I have an equation that I can solve it with. And that's not an equation, it's just an expression. Number 6. If you don't get number 6, you need to come see me to learn one of the alternate ways to do it. An angle's measure, I call it x, is 6 degrees more than, so plus 6, 3 times the measure of its complement. How do I represent its complement again? 90 minus x. So this is the equation I should have if I am not getting this set up correctly, or if you're struggling to set these types of ones up, you need to see me to see an alternate method. So this is 270 minus 3x plus 6 on the right-hand side. When you combine like terms, you got 276 minus 3x equals x. We're going to add the x to the other side. 4x equals 276. And 276 divided by 4 is 69. The measure of the angle is 69 degrees. Be careful, I could have asked you for the measure of its complement on the quiz. And so you wouldn't want to answer with 69. You'd want to do 90 minus 69, which would be 21 degrees. So pay attention to which one it asks for so you can get it right. The end.